This is going to be against my real estate. I'm in real estate, right?
Yeah.
A lot of my industry are not going to like that I'm kind of like in favor a little bit about the new ordinance. Tell me a little bit about it.
Yeah. So the Northwest Side Preservation Ordinance is an expansion of a pilot that was put in place by my predecessor at that time, Alderman Carlos Ramirez Rosa, and a couple others after the 606 development took place on the old trail line, right? That 606 development made Humboldt Park, Westtown, Wicker Park prime real estate, where many individuals wanted to build their homes, their condos, right adjacent to the 606.
But what happened when they did that?
What we seen was a lot of people leave.
Yep.
What we also seen was a drastic increase in demolitions and deconversions. And so what we call naturally occurring affordable housing, 2 to 4 flats in the city of Chicago, right? Like your pops owns a 4 flat, the nephew can live on the first floor, child can live on the second, right? Like it's how we go.
That's our culture too.
It's how we roll. What we started seeing is these buildings get converted from 2 to 4 flats into multi-million single-family homes, selling at $1.5, $2 million a pop, making it extremely unaffordable now to live around the 606. Now, I had an apartment on Rockwell and Wabansie.
You did?
Ask me if I can live by Rockwell and Wabansie today. I can't because of how expensive it is. Also, if you travel down that block, there's very little 2 to 4 flats because all we see is single-family homes. So what we did is we took the pilot that existed, we increased the surcharge for demolition, we increased the surcharge for deconversions, but we also added a TOPA piece, a tenant right of first refusal, because when we were watching these 2 to 4 flats be sold in our neighborhood, tenants weren't being told, hey, this building's on the market. This ordinance says the landlord has to let the tenants know that they intend to sell the property 30 days before they put the property online. Doesn't prevent them from putting the property online, doesn't prevent them from selling. Once that landlord, that owner gets a third-party offer, they are to tell their tenants, I got a third-party offer at this price. If they want to sell the building for $1 million, that is their right. This ordinance does not at all dictate.
So nothing to do with the price?
Nothing to do with the price.
So you got to pay the fair price, the tenant not getting a special discount?
Nope. If there's a third-party offer for a building at $1.5 million, the tenants would have to match the $1.5 million. What this particular component of the ordinance does is it gives tenants the opportunities to do a couple things. Build a tenant association so that they can go in on the building together. Not one tenant has to buy. They can all say, we all want to purchase, and then the association can purchase the building. Or it could be half of the association that says, yes, we want it, and the other half association could opt out. There is a period in time in which they can form the association. Then in good faith negotiation, because we also don't want tenants trying to screw over owners, right? And they have to go get a pre-approval or a letter from a third-party organization saying the financing and a process will be committed for ownership of that building. But the owner also has the possibility, once the window is passed, for the tenant association to be formed to say, you didn't form this association, please sign this paper saying you're opting out of purchasing the building. So 2 things that this ordinance does: provides tenants a shot at purchasing a building that they call home, so that they don't have to leave in a sale and a new acquisition under new ownership, right? And it also gives our people an opportunity at building wealth.
I totally agree with that. I'll tell you the truth. And a lot of people in my industry would say, no, but they still always had a shot. Not really. Because behind the scenes, we are taking the cash offer. We are taking the developer. The seller wants to work with the easiest buyer. And unfortunately, the tenant is not, they're not going to be the easiest buyer. This ordinance is kind of going to force them a little bit to at least consider them. Right. But what about this tenant is interested and the seller's in a hurry, they need the money. Something happened, right? Divorce, somebody passed away.
One, they have to prove that they have the financial capacity to purchase. They can't just string along a landlord and not have the funds or not have the financial. So it's 30 days from the time that they got a third-party offer to form a tenant association and then provide the landlord with an indication of whether or not they want to purchase the building. And then there is 60 days for the offer to be made. And then that goes as fast or slow as a lender would have that go.
Would get it done.
Right? So here's what I'll say is all purchases can take time. You have an inspection that needs to be done, an appraisal that needs to be done. Your lender packaging and financings have to make sense. I've watched closings happen in 10 days. I've watched closings happen in 120, right?
I've seen 6 months.
So there you go.
I'm not going to lie to you.
So all sales of a property truly depend on the condition of the property, the relationship between the landlord, the buyer, the lender, the realtor, right? Like there's so many factors that truly create a quick or a slow closing process on a sale.